I really had to listen twice just now, but Donald Trump is actually talking here about what might be the wildest Bitcoin price surge we've seen in recent years. If you think Bitcoin is already performing well right now, man, oh man, what Donald Trump is planning here is going to blow everything else out of the water. And Bitcoin has just recently shot past the 123,000 US dollar mark again, even in the short term. It's just crazy how things are shooting up here. We also have major new statements from Michael Saylor. CZ is also saying that the current Bitcoin price levels are ridiculous compared to what's still possible here. We're seeing massive purchases from Meta, Planet, and others. Right now, the sentiment here is really positive again. We need to take a look at the whole thing, because there are some things going on in the background here that are super exciting to pay attention to right now. But first, let's smash the like button below for higher Bitcoin prices, for more peace, more freedom. We're really on a great path right now. Probably also because you guys have been liking so much. So go ahead and hit even more likes below, then the Bitcoin price will keep going up. Jack Mellors also asks here, hey guys, are you having fun right now? And then he also warns here, don't let yourselves be fooled by fiat money. The party hasn't even started yet. And then he shares a few charts here. And here you can see, I think, this should be the Bitcoin price, M2 money supply, probably something along those lines, and probably the power law chart down here on the bottom left. But it could be that that's not exactly right off the top of my head. If you know exactly which charts these are, let me know in the comments below. What's much more interesting here is the graphic he shares, because he also says, don't let fiat money lead you by the nose. Here you can see Bitcoin, still very small, here at 2 trillion, and all the other capital pools that exist here. Here, real estate at 370 trillion, here bonds, over 300, trillion. So these are really huge capital pools, and that's what he means. If you think the current Bitcoin price is already high, then you're probably mistaken. Jack Mellors also always says that the total addressable market for Bitcoin is 450 trillion. This is basically the wealth that Bitcoin can absorb, and it's exactly from these capital pools I just looked at or showed you, bonds, real estate, stocks, and so on, that Bitcoin will draw this capital from. And that's why, hey, don't let yourselves get fooled here. It could be that there's a lot more to come, at least in the long run. I mean, with a market capitalization of 450 trillion, we're talking about a Bitcoin price that's just off the charts. It's almost impossible to even imagine. Of course, that's still a very long way off. Sure, Jack Mellors is thinking in terms of 10, 20, 30-year periods here, not short term. But in any case, it's really interesting that a lot of people from the OG camp aren't actually surprised by the current Bitcoin pump and are even saying, hey, there's still a lot more room to grow. We're just at the beginning. We've just had the highest weekly close here. We've actually never had such a high weekly close for the Bitcoin price before. And British Holiday is also poking fun at all the newcomers in the Bitcoin space. He says, if you didn't buy Bitcoin for 15,000 30 months ago, it's okay if you buy it today for 121,000 US dollars. Or by now, yeah, Bitcoin has already been even higher. And that's exactly the thing. Everyone gets the price they deserve, and those who didn't pay attention a year or two ago, who weren't watching here. I've told you often enough. How many times have I said, warning, last chance to buy Bitcoin. Last chance to buy Bitcoin. You can look back in history if you want. The people who didn't listen back then, well, now they have to deal with the consequences, or as they say, have fun, stay in power, everyone gets the price they deserve. Michael Saylor now has 30 billion in unrealized gains. Of course, this is working out really well for Michael Saylor's strategy, because he got in at very good entry prices. El Salvador, for example, as well. El Salvador also got in at very good entry prices. That means all those Bitcoin strategies that people laughed at during the bear market, the people who bought Bitcoin back then and got mocked, well, they're doing really well now in this whole story. We have Meta making plans to buy more Bitcoin again. We're buying another 797 Bitcoin, so now we have 16,000 Bitcoin and we're on track to buy 210,000 Bitcoin. That's also why, for example, CZ says, hey, the current Bitcoin prices aren't even really relevant yet. Check this out. Here, CZ says, hey guys, it might seem exciting right now, but in a few years, these 123,000 US dollars will look ridiculous. In a few years, the Bitcoin price will be so much higher, and it'll really seem ridiculous if someone says, hey, I bought Bitcoin for 123,000 or something like that. And that's exactly what the OGs are saying too, the people who've been into Bitcoin for a really long time. And a lot of people just haven't been into Bitcoin that long. Some of them are even new to this channel, and they just don't get it yet. They think, okay, Bitcoin is high right now, but Michael Saylor actually puts it really well. He says, hey, it's not like we have a Bitcoin price of 100,000 US dollars or something. What we actually have here is a 90% discount compared to a $1 million Bitcoin rocket. And that's exactly how you have to look at it here. And something similar, not directly about Bitcoin, but something just as wild, is what Donald Trump is saying here. And when I saw that, I thought, this is probably the most Buddhist thing Donald Trump has ever said about Bitcoin. If he actually goes through with this, it would completely change everything for Bitcoin. That would be a unique historical event, something that's never happened before in US history. And that wouldn't just give Bitcoin a little pump, it would make it absolutely explode. This is so intense, guys. Just check out what Donald Trump is saying here.
If Jerome Powell stepped down, it would be a great thing. I don't know that he's going to, but he should. Jerome Powell's the Birdman for our country.
So now he's talking about Jerome Powell again. We already know all this. He should resign. The Fed chair should step down. He's really, really bad for the country, for the USA. And if he were gone, things would be so much better for the US. Now, pay attention.
Should have the lowest interest rate on earth.
And that's the craziest thing. I've never seen anything like this from a US president or anyone else, saying we need the lowest interest rates ever, especially when you look at where the US is coming from. That means Donald Trump said we need a 3% drop in interest rates, so 3% lower interest, right? Now he's saying we need the lowest interest rates, because the last time he talked about this stuff, he still put the US relatively high up, so relatively low rates, but now he's taking it a step further. He's not just saying we need to be among the countries with the lowest interest rates, but that we need to be the only country, or the one country, that has the lowest rates. And guys, how crazy is that? That would mean Bitcoin would just take off completely. I mean, if interest rates go all the way down to zero or even into negative territory, we saw that during COVID. Just look at what happened to the Bitcoin price then. And we've already got pretty good momentum. If the monetary side gets even more stimulated now, if monetary policy pushes even harder for rising Bitcoin prices, I mean, anything is possible then. It's unimaginable what kind of power could potentially be unleashed here, but he goes on talking. Check out what else he has to say.
We don't. He just refuses to do it, and yet he's spending $2.5 billion rebuilding the Fed, the Federal Reserve building. And I don't know what he knows about building, but you talk about cost overrun. So he got this approved, and he started the work during the Biden administration. And he doesn't look like the kind of a guy, frankly, that wants to spend $2.5 billion. And it's very interesting.
So here he's pointing out that Jerome Powell is apparently just busy improving the building and doesn't really have a handle on the essential things. That means he should rather lower the interest rates instead of sprucing up the Federal Reserve building and so on. And yeah, you can kind of agree with him on that. I mean, why do they always have to build some kind of palaces or something all the time? It's the same in Germany, too, sometimes. They keep renovating the Bundestag and doing this and that, but the basics are completely ignored.
Because out of 71 economists, one person, me, and then one other person, I think from Wharton, got it right, and the others were all wrong. In terms of the success of our country this quickly, we have no inflation, we have cash pouring in. It was me and somebody else. Then I could tell you, I don't need 5,000 people working for me behind the scenes like Jerome Powell to tell him what he should say once a month.
Well, that's interesting. He says here, the USA is absolutely on the rise. Things are moving forward here. And it's all thanks to Donald Trump. All the advisors and so on were wrong here. He's absolutely right here, and so on. And of course, he's really laying it on thick here. And what's also interesting is that he says he doesn't need 5,000 people working for him. That's always the thing, which I sometimes criticize as well. Why does the ECB need something like 5,000 people? At the Fed, it's probably even more, 10,000, 20,000. I don't know how many people work there, probably even more. The numbers I have in my head are probably not even accurate anymore. And that's what's so crazy. Bitcoin does all of this fully autonomously, decentralized. And the Federal Reserve still needs all these people doing things manually. And in the end, the decisions are still wrong. The decisions are still bad. It's exactly the same at the ECB, exactly the same at other central banks. And that's basically the advantage Bitcoin has over central banks. Bitcoin works in a decentralized way, doesn't need any idiots to mess around with interest rate policies and then still make the wrong decisions, thinking they're the top dogs.
To tell him what he should say once a month. Because they got it wrong. The Fed got it wrong. I call him too late. He's always too late. Every point costs us $360 billion. Think of that. And we should be 3 points. That's almost $1 trillion. Approximately $1 trillion less. We should be just with the signing of a piece of paper. So, we'll see what happens.
Basically saying, the Fed is always too late. Jerome Powell is always too late. It's costing us endless amounts of money that the interest rates are being lowered. And now, they absolutely have to lower the interest rates immediately. If they don't do that, then, well, then, I don't know. Then it's just going to get very, very expensive for the American people. For Bitcoin, it would potentially, yeah, of course, as I said, be best if Jerome Powell actually lowers the rates. But honestly, I always see Jerome Powell's side of things here too. He can't just go and lower the interest rates by 3% right now. I mean, a small rate cut might be appropriate, but not by 3 percentage points. That would obviously be over the top, what Donald Trump is demanding here. But he knows that too. He's a deal maker, and of course he has to ask for the most extreme things, and then he'll end up settling somewhere in the middle or so. I think that's kind of Donald Trump's tactic.
You're telling me he's going to quit? I hope he quits. I don't know if he's going to quit, but he should quit. It's been very bad for the country. I think if Jerome Powell...
So Jerome Powell is supposed to step down here. He's not sure if Jerome Powell will step down, but he definitely should, because Jerome Powell is very, very bad for the country here and blah, blah, blah. And for Bitcoin, he's also kind of bad at the moment. So Donald Trump would probably be much better for Bitcoin here, although of course you shouldn't always just focus on Bitcoin. There are also people who have money, which then gets inflated, and a lot of other things. That means Bitcoin is really just a small bubble that benefits from new money, but a lot of people also lose in this game because of inflationary money. But now you guys write down below how you currently assess the situation here, whether you actually think this is the ultimate, probably one of the craziest price drivers, with Donald Trump and what's going on here. I think he really outdid himself here. He can hardly top this anymore. So write that down in the comments below, and if you still want to buy Bitcoin, then it's an absolute recommendation. Definitely check out 21 Bitcoin. It's the easiest way to buy Bitcoin here in Europe. With the code BitcoinHotel, you can get up to 20% off the fees when buying Bitcoin. It's an absolute recommendation. So make sure to check it out. Guys, see you next time. Until then, peace out.